one of the things that we had to figure out on our own was Zoom, right? Because you're always trying to think of topics, different, guests and whatnot. And a lot of the guests have to be remote. I mean, you can only pull in so many guests, from the Vegas area. And I like bringing in local artists. We've brought in several and we'll continue to do that. But there's other artists and, in the industry throughout the world that I want to talk to. I want to ask them questions. And I want them on the podcast. So in order to do that, you have to figure out how to do a good remote podcast. And a lot of the remote interviews that I've watched, they can be they can be the same, kind of, one dimensional, if you know what I mean. And I kind of wanted to do it differently, where I watch Willie Geist on Sundays, and he does remote interviews sometimes. Some of his celebrity guests, they're remote. They're not always in person. And I noticed the way he did them. It wasn't just the Zoom screen and then like a straight on, camera image of him and then just the Zoom screen of the guest. He had different I like the way they set up his set, capturing different angles. And I thought that was really cool. So that's what we've done with our remote guests. But figuring it out, Olivia, it was kind of difficult. We did have some technical difficulties in the beginning with the Zoom podcasts. Yeah.
Especially with the audio.
Yeah, the audio was difficult.
Yeah.
But you got it figured out. Which ones do you enjoy most? Do you enjoy the remote Zoom ones or do you enjoy...
I like both, but the Zoom ones are easier to set up.
They're easier to set up. Yeah, because it's just
you and the laptop.
But you kind of are at the mercy of the guest.
Yeah.
Hoping, fingers crossed, like they're set up well on their end, like with audio, with lighting, with connection. And we do send them a list of, some tips on how to make sure it's good quality on their end. And that includes a backdrop. I never realized how important a backdrop is to a podcast. Did you?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Not until we had one. And I was like, oh, that doesn't look good.
Yeah. We actually had a Zoom guest and we had them adjust their backdrop.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the perfect backdrop. I think it was creating a glare.
Yeah. And she looked a little bit too washed out.
Yeah. For me, backdrops, I am super light I get migraines. I think everybody knows that, debilitating migraines. And so I'm super light sensitive. So I cannot watch a podcast where the background is bright white. I cannot. That is, Dolly Parton was just on an interview, and it was a remote interview, and I love Dolly Parton so much. And I don't want to just listen to her. I want to watch her.
That's part of the fun of Dolly Parton.
That's part of the fun of Dolly Parton, right? And I'm obsessed with her the way I'm obsessed with Cher. But I couldn't watch her interview because her backdrop was this glaring, bright white backdrop. And it was painful for me. It was physically painful for me because of my light sensitivity issues. So, and I can't be the only one that is sensitive to bright white backdrops and backgrounds. Or either one of you?
I am, yeah.
You are?
Yeah. The light, it just it absorbs more. If it absorbs more of the screen, and it just makes the entire screen just look too bright.
Yeah. So I think that's a good little nugget for people. If you're doing and this is for Instagram lives. If you're going live on Facebook, your podcast, whatever. I'm not telling, I'm not telling you how to change your backdrop or not do white, but, maybe take into consideration that there are people that are light sensitive and do have a hard time with a bright white background. You just can't, like, I physically can't watch it, because that can trigger a migraine for me. So it's super painful. So yeah, I wasn't able to really, I took a couple peeks at Dolly.
Was there anything in the background besides just the white?
There was you could see like there was a dresser or a desk of some sort, but it was really low in the frame. And you could tell there was like something on the dresser. It could have been a picture frame. I can't really recall. So there was something else in the frame, but it was low. So I would say 75% of like above that dresser all the way to the top of the frame, it was bright white.
Yeah, that's too much. I'd say even just having like a picture, like a plant or something in the background, that helps break up the background and make it at least a little bit more visually appealing to watch as well.
Yeah, that's why I did a really, I painted our entire podcast room black. I have a really dark background, dark drapes. I did that intentionally for me. And when I'm watching, like Howard Stern has a really dark podcast room, and I like it. I mean, I'm attracted to that. So I like that he keeps his lighting low, and he has a dark podcast room. And so I kind of modeled the ambiance of our podcast room after kind of Howard Stern's, more of a darker, lower light podcast room. We do have two big softbox lights, because you gotta, people gotta see you in the video, so that does add some light. But I like the dark background. So I would say one more little tip we could give about backgrounds when doing Instagram lives, interviews, podcasting is also to make sure the background is not too cluttered.
Yeah.
Right? Because that can be distracting.
There's a nice middle ground, I think. You can't have it too empty, or else it looks weird.
Yeah.
Like you're just standing in nothing, pretty much.
Yeah.
Or it's too hectic and you don't know what to look at. So there has to be like a fine middle ground, I think.
Yeah, it can almost look like it's green, like a green screen effect if there's absolutely nothing in the background. And then if it's super cluttered, it can be distracting. So it's fine, like you said, it's finding this middle ground of backdrop, because I think backdrop's important. Because whether you know it or realize it or not, the viewers are they're looking at the backdrop as well. I mean,
they might be listening to you, but they're looking at the entire video and everything that's caught on camera. Yeah.
And you want it to be, pleasing and soothing to the eyes. And there may be people out there that don't really prefer, dark backgrounds. I mean, that could exist too, just like there's people that don't prefer, bright white backgrounds. I'm not sure, but I don't think black or dark backgrounds hurt or can be physically painful to someone that maybe has, migraines or whatnot. I'm not sure if the color black can trigger anything for anybody with medical issues. I'm not sure.
I'm
just kind of thinking that right now on the fly. Yeah, but we'll have to Google that after the podcast and see if can black or dark background trigger anything for anybody.